I'm Imogen, thanks for clicking on this video. If you're new, then welcome. I make plant related content every Friday, and if you've seen my videos before, then welcome back. Today I have a plant haul for you. It doesn't seem like very long since I did my spring houseplant haul, but I've bought quite a lot of plants since then, including sort of rarer ones, including Hoya, variegated Hoya. So I thought I'd make a video to show you those now. So stick around if you'd like to see what I bought in sort of June and July. First, I'm going to quickly talk about 3 plants which you might have already seen. So if you watched my Ferndale Garden Centre tour and houseplant haul, then you will have already seen these, so skip forward a minute or so. But if not, I'll quickly talk about them now. The first plant I bought at Ferndale is this little Syngonium. I did look up what it was, but I can't remember. A Syngonium Podophyllum, some sort of hybrid, I think. But yeah, it's just in a 5.5cm pot. It was £2.99 and seems pretty happy. Although the leaves are looking a bit droopy, so I might need to give this a water. I also bought a flowering African violet from Ferndale. I have had to deadhead some of the flowers since I did buy it, so it's looking a bit less full compared to my Ferndale video, but go check that out if you'd like to see how it did look. We've still got quite a lot of flowers on there. It's really pretty and I quite like having flowering plants. This was £3.99 and they had loads of different colours available, but I just quite liked this purple and white one. Final plant I bought from Ferndale is behind me. It is the Rhaphidophora Tetrasperma that's behind me there. I'm not going to move it, but I'll show you a close-up video. This was my bargain find. It was £29.99, but it was in some sort of reduced section, so I got it for £15. It's been putting off new leaves basically every day, which is amazing, and it's getting really quite tall. I was planning on cutting the longest vine and just propagating it, but I'm actually trying air layering rather than just cutting it, which seems to be going quite well. I have been recording sort of updates, so expect to see an air layering video in the future where I'll show you how I got on with this method. So that's those 3 plants quickly. And now onto the newer plants which you won't have seen. I seem to have been buying plants in kind of sets of 3. I'm not really sure why, and I don't think I was really conscious of doing it. It's only when I've sort of made notes on what plants I've bought that I've realised this. And that's probably how I've accumulated quite a few plants since my last haul. The first set of 3 I actually found on Facebook. So I joined a sort of Sheffield, South Yorkshire plant buy-sell trade group, and someone had made a post in there with 4 types of Hoya. They were moving house and sort of downsizing their collection, and I think I initially said I'd buy 2, but when I got there I bought a 3rd one. So let's start with that 3rd one actually. So this is a Hoya Australis Lisa. This and the other 2 plants I bought at the same time are all in HOUSEPLANT, which is my first sort of foray into that, although I have got a couple of plants in Leca, so I'm not entirely new to semi-hydro. But I've just got this in a little glass jar so I can keep an eye on the water level, and I think this is just a really nice looking plant. It's got plenty of leaves on it and they're quite a nice size. I don't know if I'm imagining a touch of pink in there or whether it has got a little bit sun stressed because it does sit under a grow light. But if not, they're really sort of large and glossy with a dark green edge and kind of creamy inside, which does sound a bit like the Hoya Carnosa Crimson Queen, but it's quite different. These are more rounded leaves and it kind of feels more compact rather than big and trailing like the Crimson Queen is. I don't think this is a very rare Hoya. It seems quite readily available online, but it's one that I didn't have, and I just thought it was really pretty when I saw it, so I thought for £5 it was an alright price. The second plant I bought at the same time is this Hoya Wayetii. This is quite different to quite a lot of my other plants in that its leaves are really quite long, so that was kind of how I justified it in my mind. This is also in HOUSEPLANT, although there are a few leckables in there as well, so I'm treating it the same in another glass jar. It does have 2 stems, although one has another growth point on, so hopefully this will end up looking a bit bushier. This also has really nice green glossy leaves, but the leaves do have a kind of darker colour around the edge. On at least a couple of these leaves, it looks almost black, which is really interesting, and it stands out next to some of my plants with paler or variegated leaves. If I didn't mention it already, this was also £5, again from the same person. The final Hoya that I bought at that time was this Hoya Sunrise. As with the other two, this is also in pon. I've got it in a little glass mug, and this one's quite a lot taller. So the seller had actually put this sort of copper wire as kind of a trellis for it to grow up, which I haven't changed because I think it looks quite cool. Like the Australis, this just has one stem at the moment, but I think when the stem outgrows the kind of wire trellis, I might propagate it and grow another stem up the other side, because I think that would look quite nice. None of the leaves so far have that kind of distinctive sunrise colouring, so I've been putting this really quite close to a grow light to hopefully bring that out, because I love how the leaves go almost sort of pinky toned with really bright veining. I don't know if it's something that maybe comes with age as well, like if this isn't mature enough, so I might do a bit of research to see how I can encourage that. This was £10, so it's the most expensive of the three Hoya, and probably wasn't that much of a bargain, but I haven't really seen Hoya Sunrise available other than online, and so for quite a nice tall rooted plant, I thought it was kind of alright. So yeah, that is my Hoya Sunrise. For the next set of plants, I was up in Newcastle recently, and so had to make a stop at Cowell's Garden Centre. This was for one specific plant which I had seen online, but didn't really want to pay shipping for one tiny plant. Yeah, as you'll see, it's this variegated bear paw succulent. It was only £4.99, so I didn't want to pay shipping for this sort of one tiny plant. So when I knew that we were going up to Newcastle, I was really hoping that they hadn't sold out. And this was actually the last one that I could see, so I'm really grateful to have got it. So this plant is just adorable. It was on my 2021 plant wish list, because I have a normal bear paw succulent and I just thought the variegated one was even cuter. It's not very big. It was in a 5.5cm plastic pot, but I actually repotted it into terracotta, which I think you should have seen in last week's video, because I was already repotting my regular bear paw and I thought the little variegated one would look quite cute in terracotta too, and sit beside it. I love how kind of soft and succulent and almost fluffy the leaves are on this, with the little kind of spiky claws at the end. And I think the kind of creaminess of the variegation looks really lovely alongside the pale green. I know there's another type of variegated bear paw cactus which has more yellowy variegation rather than this cream, but I really haven't seen that available anywhere, and I think I kind of prefer the cream anyway. So yeah, this is just a really adorable plant, and I'm so glad to have got it after sort of lusting after it for quite a while. The second plant I bought on this trip to Cowell's is another Hoya, and we're not even done with the Hoya yet for this haul. But this is a Hoya Sunrise. I'm not sure if this goes by another name because I couldn't really find much about it when I searched online. So if you are into Hoyas, then I'd love to know what you think. But this was just hanging up and I saw a sort of bright red 50% off sticker, which really caught my attention. So this should have been £34.99, but because it was 50% off, for reasons I don't really know why, this was £17.50. I don't think it was just this plant, they had quite a few which were reduced also, so maybe they were just getting rid of them all. I don't really know. Admittedly, some of the leaves aren't in the best condition, but it's still really quite a large plant with lots of vines, so I don't mind if a few aren't looking their best. To be honest, the reason why I bought this was partly because I thought it was a really good price for such a sort of lovely hanging plant, but also I just really love the purple and green toned leaves. The newer ones are even more pinky and really soft. That softness does kind of go on the older leaves, but given the number of vines, there's probably always going to be some new growth on there. The edges of these leaves are a really beautiful, almost maroony colour, and I think as the leaves get older and the middle kind of turns a bit more green, that has a really lovely contrast. One weird thing about this plant is that it seems to just be in bark. I'll try and show you that better in a close-up video, but this is different to sort of any of my other plants. I've given it water a couple of times by just dunking the pot into some water and moving the vines out of the way, because I can see roots at the bottom of the pot, so I think that they should be taking up water. I have had it for a few weeks now and I can't immediately see any signs of dehydration, so I think I'm just going to carry on doing that. But again, if you do know anything about the Hoya Sunrise, then I'm all ears. Like the other Hoyas I've talked about, this is quite near to a grow light, and because it has this sort of metal hook, I can hang it up, which kind of saves me on not having much shelf space left. And yeah, that is the Hoya Sunrise. The final plant I bought from Cowell's is this peperomia. This is a Peperomia abricos, and it really caught my eye because the leaves are kind of a metallic dark green colour with a sort of pink splashiness on there, which I just thought was so pretty. A few people I follow on Instagram have this plant, so when I saw it for sale amongst the other tiny plants at Ferndale, I decided to get it. This was also $4.99, which, although it's quite a small plant, I didn't think it was too bad because I know this abricos is a bit more difficult to get hold of. They had quite a lot of them, so I remember standing there for ages trying to pick which plant I wanted. I decided on this one. It has 2 stems and the leaves do have a good bit of pink on. It seems to be growing really nicely for me. It just sits on the little trolley behind me and I've not had any problems with it yet. One thing also about this plant is that it has the most beautiful burgundy undersides on the leaves, which I think really emphasise the kind of pinkness in the leaves as well. This is also in a 5.5cm pot. Just put it in this little white outer one and I'm really happy with it. The final 3 plants are ones that I bought really recently, and it is all because of this plant. So this is a variegated Hoya Wayetii, or Hoya Wayetii variegata. As usual, I was on Instagram and looking at the Instagram stories of a local plant shop called Gravel Pit, which I have actually done a tour of, and I saw this on their story and it said it was £12, and if you're at all familiar with this plant, then obviously that's a really good price. So I was a little bit confused, but I thought, well, I've got to buy it. I did then, I think, share it on my Instagram stories, and a couple of other people reshared it. So they did sell out really quickly, and I was a little bit worried because I was like, oh, what if they're not making any profit on this? Or it was just a mistake, and I've kind of alerted a load of people to the fact that these are so cheap. But when I did go and collect this, I was talking to the owner of the shop and he said that he thinks the wholesalers just made a mistake with their pricing because he got them for really cheap and still made a profit even though they're only £12. So I'm really pleased with my bargain and kind of relieved. And even though I wasn't at all in the market for this plant, I really love it now that I have it. So I have it in this little face planter and it looks like a kind of wild hairdo, which is really fun. And it's a beautiful, full, lush plant with loads of vines, and there's really nice variegation all over. Some of the leaves are a bit less variegated, but there's clearly enough of them to more than make up for that. And some of them actually do have a lovely pink tone as well, so we're getting kind of slightly sun-stressed. And this vine in particular actually has quite a lot of pinkness in the leaves. So that's really beautiful. My other Hoya Wayetii now looks a little bit pathetic compared to this, but like that, it does have a really kind of dark edge to the leaves as well, which makes that contrast all the more visible. And while I was on the Gravel Pit website, I thought I may as well have a look at what other plants they've got, and I found 2 more for a really good price. So firstly, I got this Scindapsus Pictus trebii, which is another type of satin pothos. I've just got it in my little glasses pot for now. Not sure if it'll stay there, but this was £8, and it's actually quite a bit bigger than I was expecting. I have another satin pothos, which I think is just the Scindapsus Pictus argyrius, but this trebii has much more kind of silver dappling on. What impressed me about this plant is how large the leaves are. So this one at the bottom is just massive. It's easily the size of my palm, like the length of my hand. This one, hold it up to my face, is like as big as my face. It's amazing. So I really hope it keeps on putting out these leaves. I think it would really give off sort of lovely kind of jungle vibes. But the smaller ones are kind of a bit more silvery as well, so I guess it might be a bit of a trade-off. There are quite a few stems on this, and there's, well, 2 leaves coming here, another one inside. Oh no, 2 more inside, so we'll hopefully get nice and big like my other satin pothos. I am a sucker for kind of silvery green plants, so really glad to have this in my collection. The final plant to show you in this haul is another Hoya. I think about half of the plants are Hoyas, so I should probably do a Hoya collection video soon. But this is a Hoya crinkle. This was also on sale, so it should have been £11, but instead it was priced at £6. I think this is quite a common Hoya, and I probably wouldn't have paid much more than £6 for it, but clearly I was feeling quite spendy, so got this one as well. It is just kind of a dark green. The leaves are nice and glossy, and they have that kind of ridged, bobbly, crinkly effect, I guess, with the name, which I hope is picking up on camera, and I think it's just quite a funky little plant. It's got quite a good number of vines, but they all seem to be coming out of one particular place in the pot, so hopefully this will get nice and bushy. It also has some new leaves coming, and I hope this will be a fast grower for me as well. And that is all of the plants that I have to show you today. It's a very Hoya heavy haul, but I really like all of these plants. I think I've got some really interesting and less common ones, which will be great additions to my collection. So I hope you enjoyed watching this. If you did, I'd love it if you liked this video or considered subscribing to see more planty content from me. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next Friday. Bye!